All right, so hello, it's Wednesday, April 15th. Just a few things. We're still waiting for the district to tell us about what's going to happen with grades. Um, at the moment, it looks like your Cycle 5 grade is going to lock at the end of this week. So if you have any late work, get that in. Um, Also, even if you have incomplete work, get that in. It's a lot easier to justify giving you a passing grade if I can prove that you've been turning in work than if I just don't see work. So even incomplete and late work from any point in the 6 weeks, if you get that in, it helps me move your grade up. And if I see you have a lot more things turned in, it's a lot easier to make your grade passing. But yeah, we'll see what that looks like. The other thing is about the final exam. I have no idea what the final exam will look like. So in the past, in order to exempt from the final exam, you had to get a 3 or higher on the mock test and have an 85 average. Um, I don't even know if there's going to be a final exam or what's happening with that to begin with. But even if we do have a final exam, because this is a take home mock test, I can't see justifying giving you letting this take the place of your final exam. So this is more just to see kind of where you're at as opposed to trying to exempt the final exam. It sounds like the AP test, whenever you take it, they'll grade it and they're going to send us back your responses. So if anything, I'm going to use that in order to probably either be your final exam or exempt your final exam. So this mock test is not going to have any bearing on your final exam. And I can't see how I would be able to do that fairly. Um, the other thing, as long as you take the mock test, the grade you get in the grade book is going to be a passing grade. And then I'm going to give you a chance to correct it. And if you correct it well, you're going to get another 100 for a test grade. So I really want you to try to take this on your own and take this seriously like you would the AP test. So you have like time limits for each. You have a 25-minute question and a 15-minute question. I would suggest you try to do the 25-minute question, upload it, and then try to do the 15-minute question, upload it in 5 minutes, just so you kind of get practice with how timing fills and things like that. Yeah, so timing. Um, the AP test, it's obviously open notes, open book, open internet, open everything. Uh, but if you've ever taken an open everything test, you can spend a whole lot of your time just looking things up. So I wouldn't suggest you just have the internet open and your textbook and all of these resources next to you. Otherwise, you're going to spend all your time looking things up. So that's why I suggest instead of just using notes and textbooks, if you want to have notes, I would try to make like 1 or 2 pages clearly labeled cheat sheet with like everything you know, all the different topics. If you want to know all the different topics we've gone through this year, we did 1D kinematics. We did two-dimensional kinematics. So this was just things moving in a straight line, things like launched at angles. After this, we did forces. So it could be forces on a single object or forces on multiple objects. So like a string attaching two masses or something. We did work, power, energy. We did momentum and impulse. Let's see, after that we did circular motion and orbits. So like centripetal force, centripetal acceleration. Um, After this, we did simple harmonic motion. So simple harmonic motion was pendulums and springs. And oh yeah, that's one I'm missing. Rotational motion, everyone's favorite. Rotational motion. So this is like uh, torques, angular momentum, angular acceleration, angular kinematics, all of those random things that we did. So yeah, center of mass. So center of mass you can actually use in a few of these. Center of mass you can use in rotational motion. You can also use center of mass in momentum and collision problems. So yeah, but these are the big things. Obviously, look at your formula chart. The equations we've gone through are the equations that can be on there. So if you're going to make a cheat sheet, make one over this. Now, what it really sounds like from the people who are making the AP test this year, it sounds like they're going to be making it to where you can type all your answers. So that's the other thing I would like you to try to do. If it is at all possible, I want you to try to type your responses to these questions. All right. So type the responses and turn it in from there. What I do know is that you're only going to be able to access the test from one device. So if you take the test on a laptop, you can't write the answer down on a paper, take a picture, and upload it through your phone. You would have to have some way of getting the picture from your phone to your laptop to College Board and turned in within that 5-minute interval. And again, this 5 minute, you get 25 minutes and then the test shuts off and then you get 5 minutes and then to upload and then you can no longer upload. If you miss that 5-minute interval, you're stuck. You didn't get an answer in, you get 0 points for that question. So you really should be practicing doing this on a single device. So if at all possible, even if you're using a phone, I want you to try to type your response. So Daniel just asked how to show math work. It sounds like there's going to be very little math. It sounds like the vast majority of this test is going to be concepts from what College Board has been putting out and the people who make and grade the test. So it sounds like very little math. And if there is math, it's going to be easy to type math, like 3mg, simple things like that. So I tried to make this test very similar to how I expect the AP test to be. So I would kind of practice here, and pretty soon we should be getting some practice tests through College Board where you can go online and you can practice taking the test like that. Yeah, so if you need to write the test down and you have a second device, I don't know how you would resolve that. That would be something like taking a picture, transferring it to yourself, like either plugging your phone into the computer or emailing it to yourself or something like that, and then posting it. So this is why I would suggest just using the one device. It really, really sounds like they're trying to get everyone to type their response. So if at all possible, I want you to try to type your response onto this document through Google Docs and then try to turn it in within the 5-minute interval you have after that. Yeah, you could upload to Google Drive and then put it on there. Yeah, there's a few ways of doing it. But yeah, whatever you're doing here, just kind of practice it and see if you can get it within 5 minutes. If you're struggling to get it, I would say within even a minute or two. If you're having difficulty transferring the files and getting it turned in within a minute or two, you need to contact me and we can try to work something out that you can do better. Yeah, you could do it on your iPad. Just open up the document, fill it out in Google Docs here, and then turn it in. It's probably on the AP test, you're probably just going to have like a little answer spot that you can type into, a little text box you can type into. So yeah, I would try to type out your answer on your electronic device and turn it in from your electronic device. Yeah, and again, it really sounds like not so much math, a lot more concepts, which does not make this easier. Trust me, you can ask some really difficult concepts without math. So this was just my best attempt at approximating what it sounds like the AP test will be like. Hopefully I did well. We'll obviously see when it actually comes time for the AP test. But yeah, try typing the response, try turning it in digitally, things like that. Yeah, I don't think they would ask you a free body diagram question because you would have to draw something. Obviously, I can't say they won't. They might have some sort of way of you having to put it in there. So while I don't think they would ask you a question for a free body diagram, I think they could still ask you questions about like, what are the magnitudes of these two forces? Which components of forces are balanced? So I think they could still, probably won't ask you to draw a free body diagram, but they could still ask you a question where you would need to draw a free body diagram in order to solve the question from there. So you should probably have some scratch paper. Yeah, I can't see them trying to make you download a picture, then edit the picture, then upload the picture. Um, so that would be really difficult. So I don't see them actually making you draw a free body diagram. So yeah, probably not much drawing, probably not a lot of math, probably just mostly writing conceptual type answers. Yeah, so I would suggest having some scratch paper out in case you do have to write some things out or draw something out. Um, Khan Academy drag and drop. I don't I don't know. The problem with Khan Academy drag and drop is people are used to using it. I think they're going to try to make the test where it's something you don't have to get used to using something because you just have like they want you to log in 30 minutes before, then you go on there and then you try it. I don't think they're going to do anything too like crazy that could cause difficulty for people. So it really, really sounds like mostly just typing answers, and they would ask, "How does this change as that changes?" or "By what factor does this change by?" or "How explain what variables can affect this." So yeah, mostly it sounds like justifying answers. And if there is math, really straightforward math. And if you need to draw something for a question, I don't think they're going to make the drawing part of the question. I think it's just going to be something you have to write on scratch paper off to the side and then do it from there. Um, you you say it shouldn't be too hard. I can very easily ask extremely difficult conceptual questions. In fact, I think this might make it even harder. Um, Thinking in terms of physics is not an easy skill. So don't think, oh, no math or very little math. This is going to be easy. I would not think that way. So yeah, I'm kind of nervous about this one. I also a thing I kind of think that's going to happen that I tried to do on this mock test is I really think they're going to try to cover all of these topics in 2 questions. So that's the other thing I can see happening where they have a question that covers a lot of the topics, but you don't need to get a previous part correct to solve another part. So if you look at this mock test I made, you can skip around to any part on here and you should be able to solve it without having any other parts on the question correct. So I really think your AP test will be like this. Again, I'm kind of guessing and going off of what College Board has said, but it seems like this test, more so than any other test, you should be able to skip around and just go to like 2C right immediately and be able to solve that question. Well, probably not 2 because they give you 1 question at a time. So yeah, so again, I would say it's really important. Try to do this online. Try to type it in Google Docs or just anything you can and practice trying to upload it within 5 minutes. If you can't upload it within a minute or two, there's probably something that needs to change. Um, you'll get your you'll log in 30 minutes before the test, then the test will open. You'll have exactly 25 minutes to work on the question. The question will disappear. You'll have 5 minutes to upload your answer, or if you were typing it into their text box, it sounds like it will automatically be submitted. After the 5 minutes, then you'll get your 15-minute question will pop up, and then you'll have 15 minutes, and then it'll disappear. You'll have 5 minutes to upload. And if you miss either of the 5-minute upload periods, for say you miss a 5-minute upload period for the first question, too bad, no points. So this really try to take this like a normal AP test. So I give you the time limits here. The only thing about the time limit, so you have a 25-minute question and a 15-minute question. Try to follow those, except for the part A where you're just trying to figure out the values to use. So in the part A where it's just like the randomize, like based on the numbers from your ID, choose this, I wouldn't count that as your time. So once you figure out the values for all of those things, then start your 25-minute timer. Try to go through, do what you can in 25 minutes. Once the 25 minutes is up, upload your answer and all of that. Yeah, typing slow, it will be kind of a struggle. And to kind of reiterate, as long as you attempt the AP test, this mock test, I'll give you a passing grade. So please don't try to cheat. I'm probably going to count this as a small test grade. So as long as you do it, as long as you attempt it, as long as you turn it in, you'll get at least a 70. And then I'll put the corrections in as a larger grade. So after all this, even if you do really badly on this and get almost no points and do like get a 1 on the mock test and then you correct it, your average grade for the test will probably still be in the 80s or 90s. So I really want to encourage you to try to take this seriously and try not to cheat. Try to take it under normal test conditions and all of that. It's not going to negatively impact your grade. All right. Any last questions before we go to this? Yeah, I would make a Google Docs, and then I wouldn't. When you actually upload it to Google Classroom, I don't think you're going to be able to just share from Google Drive. So actually try to upload it into Google Classroom as opposed to sharing it from Google Drive, if that makes sense. Because the AP test, I guarantee you're not going to be able to just share it from Google Drive because of permission issues. So whenever you turn this in, actually upload the document to turn it in. Yeah. Yeah, you'll know how many points you made on the mock. I'm going to go through and grade it. I have a whole Excel document that I'll go through and I'll grade it, and you'll get a grade from 1 to 5 on this. Once enough people have taken it, I'll post the actual key, the Excel document key, onto Google Classroom. I still haven't done that for the previous test. I'll probably put that up pretty soon because people have either taken it or they're not going to take it. But yeah, I'll get that up and you can see the key and everything like that. And that will also be depending on when Weber gives out the mock also. So that will have a little bit of say in it. You're welcome. All right, so let's get into the test. If you have any other questions after this, just kind of save them for the end and ask them before we finish. So starting off, we have this. So don't count this in your time while you're reading through this first page. This is just me trying to randomize your test to make it a little bit more difficult for you to just straight copy from someone else. So again, I really suggest that you stick to the time limits. So the 25 minutes, 5 minutes to upload that part, 15 minutes, 5 minutes to upload the next part. You can use the formula chart. If you lost yours, I gave a link to the formula chart there. Again, I would not just use your notes and textbooks and have your entire physics binder out. That's going to take up way too much time looking for things. If you want to have something, which I think you all should do this, try to make a 1 to 2 page. Again, just a real short, clearly labeled cheat sheet going through the topics I just showed earlier. 1 and 2 dimensional kinematics, forces, work, power, energy, momentum, impulse, circular motion, orbits, simple harmonic motion, and rotational motion. Yeah, 0, I made this and then I was like, oh dang, 0 can be a number and that can really mess things up. So yeah, 0 is not a number that you can have in any of these. So you're gonna write out your student ID number here. So the first number is A, second number B, third number C, fourth number D, fifth number E, sixth number F. And anytime I'm trying to get you to use one of these, it's always going to be in the little bracket. So let's just go through an example. I have an example up here. Let's just make up another random ID number. All right, we'll put in another one with 2. So let's say my ID number was 430170. All right, so 430170. Now, we don't want anything to have a 0 in it. So if you have a 0, I want you to reassign that 0 to any number from 1 to 9 that doesn't show up anywhere else in your ID number. So we'll call this our new ID number for the test. 4, 3. Okay, well, I have a 0. So let's not put anything here. Okay, so 2. I don't have a 2 anywhere else, so I'll put a 2. 1, 7. And then Anthony said 6. I don't have a 6 anywhere else, so I'll put a 6 here. So if you have a 0, replace it with a non-zero number that does not show up anywhere else in the number. And then once we do this, we can put it in our little thing. So 4 is going to be A. 3 is going to be B. 2 is going to be C. 1 will be D. 7 will be E. 6 will be F. So again, the distinction between a variable and the actual number you're going to plug in is if it's a number you're going to plug in, it's always going to have this little bracket around it. 8 is just 2 zeros stacked on each other. So what? 8 is 0 divided by 0. No line. So it's a ratio then? All right, so we get here. This first question, 25 minutes, again, really try to follow that. But for this entire part here where you're just assigning values, don't include that in the 25 minutes. You're not going to have to do this on the AP test. So this is not part of the 25 minutes. But let's go through this. Let's set up 1A. All right, so 1A is trying to get the length of the rope. The length of the rope is going to be A times B times L. So A times B times L. A is 4, B is 3 times L. So the length of the rope is going to be 12L. All right, the weight of the person is going to be C times D. So 2 times 1 W. So 2W is going to be the weight of the person. Capital L, lowercase l. Yeah, I just did a capital L to distinguish from the lowercase l. Yeah, I was just trying to make it look different. All right, and then the tension of the rope at point B along the swing is going to be C plus 1, so 2 plus 1, times D plus 1, 1 plus 1, W. So 2 plus 1 is 3, times 2 equals 6W. All right, now we get to all of these if-then statements. Hopefully it's not too confusing. So we have the if E is between these values, then you're going to say point X is point B, different things like that. So E, so let's look at this next one. So if E, so I'm looking at if E, so my E is greater than or equal to 7, right? So for this one, my E value is going to be in that 7 to 9, including the endpoints. So because E is between 7 and 9, that means, what is this? My point X is going to be at point B. One, 2, 3, 4. Point X. And then 5, if you notice, is the same thing as 4. So it's still talking about E in those intervals, but it's looking for point Y now. My point Y is going to be at point B. No, not point B. Wait, did I read this wrong? Yeah, I did. So the previous one, 27, 20, and 30. Oh, for these. Yeah, that's fine. It shouldn't be too bad still. Yeah, I read this one below that. That should say point D. So I'm right here on this one. So I'm X is point D, and then my Y is point B. All right, these next two are talking about my F value. All right, so my F value is 6. VI, 6 and 7. So my X value is 6. So 6 is less than or equal to 6, believe it or not. Less than or equal to 6 and greater than or equal to 4. So less than or equal to 6. So that means I have this. Why are you highlighting? There we go. So I have this one. So my point Z is going to be at point C. And then this thing I'm calling interval this is also using my F value. This interval is going to be from point B to point C. Questions on these so far? Hopefully this isn't horribly confusing. Is anyone uncertain on what to use for their numbers? Is everyone okay? Are you working on that right now or looking at it, or it makes sense? Just some sort of make sense or not make sense. Because there's a whole lot of random logic in between here that isn't part of the actual test. And it is important that you choose right, because my key, I just type in your ID number and then it goes based off that. So if you choose wrong, then you're going to get it. Yeah, it looks like the last test you took. I tried to kind of make things less confusing, where it's 1 to 3, 4 to 6, 7 to 9. Dewey list. Yeah, so here on this one, I want you to list the new ID. So this is the one with the replace zeros. So kind of like this, how this 421076, instead of putting the 0, I put a 3. Yeah, so if your point X is, what'd you say? If your point X is C, no, point X is B, then your point Y has to be C. And if your point X is C, then your point Y has to be D. If your point X is D, your point Y has to be B. There's a reason for this. Otherwise, the question didn't work out very well. So we'll see when we go through this. It's wanting you, when you first arrive at point X, well, point X is talking about whichever one of these. Did you get B, C, or D here? And then you get to point Y. Are you talking about C, D, or B here? And then we have interval, so transformation of energy as it swings along from, and then whatever your interval is your interval A to B, is your interval B to C, or is your interval C to D? Then again, we have a point Z here where you put in point Z and things like that. All right. Clear? Is everything clear on this? Sounds like it feels similar to the previous one. And yeah, feel free to email me when you're working on this. If you're completely confused, email me or show up in tutorials if this is confusing, or stick around after this and I'll help you figure out which one of all your values are. All right. You're welcome. And then this next one is a little bit less crazy. So this one, we only have two things. So we need to define change x and change y. I was trying to like make this the easiest possible way to like use, and then based on how I was having to like program the Excel document, it just ended up making kind of the most sense to do if-then statements. So anyone who's done any sort of computer science if-then statements should make sense. Hopefully you should have seen these in like some sort of like math or science or something before. So this first one, so A on here, so 2A, again, you'll go through, work through one, don't count part A towards the time, and then you'll take 25 minutes, you'll turn it in. Then look at question 2. When you work through question 2, just do A first and don't count the time that you took working out part A towards the test, because that's not going to be on the AP test. So once you've worked out A, then you can start your timing. All right, so now we're looking at C times F. So C times F. Well, for me, what are my values? I had a C value of 2 and an F value of 6. 2 times 6 equals 12. All right, so I'm on this lowest value here. I am less than or equal to 15. So because C times F is less than or equal to 15, then my change X is going to equal to decrease acceleration of the block. And so change X, decrease acceleration of the block. So what that would look like is you get here, change X, give 2 ways you can modify the mass pulley system in order to change X. So what would I change in order to decrease the acceleration of the block? All right. And then to get my change Y, I need to do D times E. So for me, D times E, well, it is D times E. D times E, well, my D value is 1 times my E value is 7. So that's equal to 7. This is also less than or equal to 15. So my less than or equal to 15 means my change Y value is going to be decrease the final angular momentum of the pulley. So less than or equal to 15. So change Y is going to be equal to decrease final angular momentum of the pulley. And then so when I get to change Y down here, it says give 2 ways you can modify the mass pulley system in order to my change Y. So how I can modify it to decrease the final angular momentum of the pulley. And it might help to write it out here and then find the values you see it here and then just type it in there. So if you want to do that and change this and then type this in here, I mean, I could have made a macro for this, but I feel like it would be difficult to get it to work on all your computers consistently, depending on where you open it. Um, yeah, so if you want, you can go through and change these in your question and type that in and do that before you start your 15-minute timer. So all of this kind of bookwork here, setting this up, isn't counting towards your time. If you want to go through and replace the values and just delete, change X and type and copy paste the value you have up here, that might be even better. But yeah, that's the test. Again, AP test this year really sounds like it's going to be mostly conceptual. They really, 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 really want you to type the answers up on the computer. So I would suggest doing that, typing your answers on here and turning it in there. Practice taking the allotted times to actually solve the questions and the 5 minutes to turn it in. See if your situation is working where you're able to turn in questions quickly. You're only allowed to have one electronic device in Google Classroom taking the test. So it's really going to be difficult to take a picture on your phone while working on a computer because you're going to have to move that picture somehow through Google Drive, email, plug in your phone to your computer. It's going to be a little bit more of a mess to turn things in that way. So make sure you're doing that. And again, it really sounds like they're probably going to try to cover every topic in a very conceptual as opposed to mathematical way. Which means it sounds like you should be able to skip around. So pretty much any question on this mock test I have, you can answer any part of it first. You should be able to just pick 2F, and you should be able to solve 2F without solving anything else. All right. So if you're confused, then do this. Why one Google Classroom allowed for this? What do you mean one Google Classroom? So the AP test, I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but it kind of sounds like you're probably going to have like, you'll go through, you'll probably have text boxes to type into, or you can upload images or documents to the AP test within that allotted 5 minutes. But it sounds like you're going to be able to just type your answers on there, and that's obviously going to be much preferred. If you can just type your answers directly into text boxes on the College Board website, then there's no uploading. Like the test will just end and it'll just take your answers, and you won't have to worry about fumbling around doing things. The only reason I'm suggesting you use Google Classroom and open this up in Google Docs is that's about as close as I could get to this one without actually sitting there and making the entire assignment inside Google Classroom. So I guess that was laziness on my part. Well, not laziness. I was working for a long time getting this running. But yeah, so just if at all possible, I suggest trying to type this. Any other questions to ask? I'll stick around for a while after this, after I stop recording, if you have any other questions. Here you go. Just come get it. You have to find me, though. If the website crashes, yeah, hopefully the website doesn't crash. That would really suck. I hope that they've found a way to try to account for it. But yeah, that's always, failure is always an option. So there is this test. You will take the test on the DDoS. I mean, it would be similar to a DDoS, but I mean, you'd be unintentionally DDoSing College Board. But yeah, so you have the primary test, which will be in the afternoon. I think it was 3 on May 14th. If there's technical issues, there will be an alternate test, only if there's technical issues. So if for whatever reason your internet just decides to crash, you have to contact College Board and tell them your issue, and then they're going to review it on a one like individual basis. So they're going to check each individual person. Any other questions? Yeah, I mean, just try this. Yeah, if there's lag, hope I mean that would be something that you would have to complain to them again. It's going to be a one by one basis, so they're going to take each person and read them and then see whether they give them another one. They'll probably have some sort of thing. I don't know. They're obviously just trying to roll this out. Um, so yeah, if your internet just goes down or up, or you have extreme lag for some reason, then you'll have to. You cannot take it twice for twice the score. I'm pretty sure if you have technical issues in the middle, they're just going to invalidate the other score. But yeah, just try as much as possible. Again, they will put this up pretty soon. So within the next week or two, we should have a practice test that you can take that will go through exactly what the normal test will look like. Um, yeah, I mean, I would try not to stress too much about technology because it either works or it doesn't. And if you're stressing about it, it's not going to help you at all unless there's something you can do to improve the reliability of it. Um, if you really want, you could try to take it on your phone. That way, if your internet goes down, then you still have access to your 4G network. Um, Hopefully, not your 5G network because, as everyone knows, that causes coronavirus. So, but yeah, just try to use the most reliable technology you have. When was that? That's like the big conspiracy theory is that the COVID-19 was caused by 5G. Uh, pretty dumb in my opinion, but entertaining. Yeah, not a nuclear signal. That would be gamma rays. But yeah, nuclear signals are hard to send and receive. That was created by 5G. That would be a pretty impressive amount of energy. Well, if there's no other direct questions on this, I'm going to stop recording. Feel free to stick around and keep asking questions, though. Uh, have a good day and good luck on the mock test.